guys, I'm Dave Krugman. I'm a photographer. I'm the founder of ALLSHIPS, a creative community here in New York, and I'm also the photography mentor for the Avaissance Artist in Residency program. Today, we are going to focus on the fact that the end is actually the beginning. And what I mean by that is that the end of this class is really just the beginning of a much longer journey. And also the end of your project, when you put it out into the world, is no end at all. It's actually the genesis point of the actual living, breathing project that you put out in the world. So today we're going to talk briefly about how to think about that framework and how to make sure that your projects have longevity and life. So it's tempting to call launch day, the end of the project, or when you wrapped it all up, or when you put it out into the world, and that's that. But really it's more like birthing something into the world. And now this project has a life. And a life has many things that you can do to make that life better and more sustained. And so what I think that I've learned over the years of being an artist in digital ecosystems is that the best part of putting art out into the world is using that art as a catalyst to build long-term relationships with people that you admire. I've been fortunate enough to have my life forever changed by the way that my art has been able to propagate and live in my creative ecosystems. And my art has become a catalyst for events and social experiences and friendships. And that impact can ripple outwards and change the world in so many different ways. So when I put out a project, it's a kind of a celebration of bringing a life form into the world almost. And instead of releasing the project and walking away and moving on to the next thing, I'm using that project as a framework to build relationships upon. So I do dinner parties based on my art projects. I do events. I like to go on podcasts and talk about my projects. And this art can be a stimulus for conversation for a whole lifetime. And I think that there's really interesting ways that you can continue to sustain and maintain your projects, and blockchain makes that even easier. So one thing that I love about art and blockchain is that I always have this living data layer, as we discussed in earlier classes, and what that means is I can constantly inject interest and new lifeblood into these projects. For example, my project Drip Drop, which was 1,111 pictures of puddles in Times Square, I actually held back 100 of those mints. And that means that I have this potential energy, this little treasure chest for the community that I can continuously kind of drip outwards, no pun intended, and I can stimulate the project so that I can sustain interest in an attention-packed social landscape. And that has worked out in ways that have surprised even me, knowing what I was trying to do. In my project Drive, I held back 20 trophy cars in order to have incentive tokens to incentivize creative behavior within my communities. And by holding back some potential energy, I was able to, instead of having an end of the Drive project, I have this living, breathing project that I get to play with and engage with in new and exciting ways as time passes. I think that if you think about these projects as ecosystems, like living biology, then you can start to understand how they can interact with other people's projects. I could release an art project that is only available to holders of one of my friends' art projects because we have these data layers. And by connecting our projects together, we can further extend their longevity and impact on the world around us. And I think that's a really, really important way to think about what's happening with crypto art and what's happening with blockchain and other art technologies in this modern era. Technology moves faster and faster and faster every day. And what that means is that the old models of sustaining attention, let's say in galleries and magazines and museums, it doesn't keep pace with the social conversation that we're having online. Since digital art is kind of social media native, we're moving in a way with a lot less friction. We can transact globally instantaneously now at any time of the day. And the way that that's affected the artist's practice is not to be overlooked. And what that means is that these long-term visions for projects are more important than ever. You can't just put out a project one day and walk away and expect to be culturally relevant in a year. You need to work every day to raise awareness about your projects and to connect your projects to the wider conversation and to make sure that there's some way to sustain that attention over long periods of time so that you as an artist maintain relevance and can stay on the bleeding edge of where art and technology intersect. So this concludes our 5-part mini-series about how to build creative community and how to maximize the potential of the intersection of art and blockchain technology. It's been such a joy to teach this Avaissance program, working with the students, learning so much about them, about myself, about the world that we live in. It has been an absolutely astounding experience, and I want to give a huge shout out to Art on AVAX for making this possible. And if you take away one thing from all these conversations, make it this: a creative life is possible. Art is an infinite landscape, and when we combine art and technology, the potential is truly limitless.